Hey, so this is actually a part 2 to speaking about the truth about lying and the science of lying. My name is Dr. Sharnael Wolverton. If you did not see the first class, hey Billy, definitely scroll down on this Facebook page and you will see, or if you're on YouTube, then you could scroll and find part 1. But I went into a lot further detail of this. This is actually going to be a part 2, but in part 1, what we talked about is basically how living true has its health benefits and how it can actually be very good for your body physically, mentally, and emotionally to live true. And we broke down a little bit too about what exactly is lying and what isn't lying. And it's not just like if someone says, hey, do I look okay in these jeans? And you're like, sure, you look okay in those jeans. You look great in those jeans. Yes, that's technically a lie. That would be what some people would call a white lie. Hey, Caroline and Alma. But a lie is still a lie, whether it's white, black, green, yellow, purple, blue. Lying registers as a lie in your body. So just choose to tell the truth. Same way. You don't have to be mean, but tell the truth. So I am going to continue a little bit further on some tips and different things on how you can be living true permanently and to remember being true and doing that. We talked about the unconscious part. Actually, in the last, hey Salita, in the last one, last video, the first video, I actually said that your body's unconscious. That's not true. Your unconscious self, your subconscious, is literal. That is true. And so anything that you do, whether you're in a bad relationship, taking a job that you shouldn't take, or committing to overcommitting to things that you shouldn't be committing to, or being late, all of those things register as a lie. And you can actually go back and look at the first video and that'll give you a lot more understanding of that. But just for the sake of time, I wanted to touch on a couple things. Number one, someone had asked the question, well, what if you're in a job that you actually just have to be in? And I understand that. I get that if you are just in a job and you're a responsible person and you have children and people that are relying on you, please don't quit your job, obviously, because you have to, hey, Shannon and Lauren, because you got to be responsible and you got to take care of things. What I was talking about and what I'm still talking about is if you are in a job that you know you're not supposed to be in and that you have other options and or you know that God would open a door some way, when you step out in truth, then God opens doors for you to actually get into the place where you're supposed to be. So I'm not saying being unwise by quitting everything or quitting all your commitments. Hey, Mr. Lynn. But I'm actually just saying, be wise in it, but just know and understand that when you take a job, be very prayerful about taking a job, because sometimes maybe you'll make more money at one place, but your gut would say to go to another place where you're making less money. And trust me, go with your gut and go with what you know is true, because there are benefits to living true, first of all, and you don't know what's going to come up down the road. Maybe that job makes a lot of money now, but you may not be able to keep that job, or maybe the people you work with aren't going to be the best people for you and for your health. And so trust that gut instinct, muscle test, talk to other people. So number one, I just want to address that, because a couple people had asked about them being in jobs that they didn't want to be in or didn't choose to be in anymore, and what do you do in that situation, whether it's a relationship, a job, or anything that kind of big with that big results. And definitely seek advice and clarity and pray and look for other options until you can move into what you know is true. And so that's one thing I wanted to say. The other thing I want to talk about is renegotiations and agreements. If you have an agreement with anybody, whether it's the person that you work with, or a friend, or a partner, or a ministry partner, or a sister, or a brother, or a stranger for that matter, anybody, if once you've made an agreement, then if there's a point in the relationship or in the time period that you're feeling like you'd like to make a change, you can't just make a change and move on. You have to go back to the person that you set the agreement with up and talk to them and renegotiate. You don't just go do your own thing. You don't just say, well, this is what I'm doing. You don't talk to someone else and hope that they will work it out for you. You have to go to the person. For example, if you said you're going to be there at 7, you don't call like 2 people at your boss's work and say, oh, tell so-and-so that I'm not going to be in. You contact your boss or whoever you made the agreement with that you're going to be there at 7, and you contact them and say, hey, is it okay if I'm there at 7:30 instead? Otherwise, again, that will show up as a lie in your body, but also it will give you bad credibility, and people won't believe you, and it just gives you a bad reputation and all of that too. I also had a question about, well, what do you do if something happens that you just can't have any control over? Like if somebody, got in a car accident, God forbid, cancel that, or some other kind of thing happens. Obviously, you can't do anything about that. I'm talking about conscious choices that people make to say like, hey, I'm going to meet you at 7, or I'll be at that meeting, or I will pick up your kids at 4 o'clock, or I'll drop off the kids at 4 o'clock, or if there's a money thing that's negotiated and agreed upon, then those things have to be worked out. You can't just like blow it off and forget about it without it being an issue with your health. Now, I had a situation this week where someone was supposed to contact me at a certain time, and they were waiting on somebody else to get this information to me. And all they did is they contacted me at 3 o'clock and said, hey, I haven't actually got the information that I was hoping to get you at 3 o'clock, but I want to let you know I'm still waiting on the information, and I will be back with you. She followed through on her end. She still didn't get all the information to be able to give me the answers that I required, but she kept her word and said, hey, I just want to let you know I'm contacting you like I said, but I don't have all the information yet. I'm still waiting, but I haven't forgot about you. That would be true. And so that would not be anything on her scroll or her health or anything, because she was following through with what she needed to do. I've also had a situation where I myself was going to be somewhere and something happened. And I knew I wasn't going to be able to make it to this thing. And so I contacted the person where I knew I wasn't going to be able to make it. And I was like, I want to let you know, I apologize. When can we meet again? Can we meet tomorrow, or can we meet 30 minutes later? And again, this week, there was another situation where I knew I was supposed to be there at 1 o'clock, and I could see through traffic that is probably going to be more like 5 minutes late. And guess what? I don't care if it's 5 minutes late or 3 minutes late or 10 minutes late. If I know I'm going to be late, I'm going to contact that person and say, hey, I just want to let you know I'm sitting at so-and-so red light. It's going to be more like 7:05 or 3:05 instead of 1 o'clock or 3 o'clock. So, or 7 o'clock or 1 o'clock. So I'm letting you know and explaining to you just a little bit of some examples, because people have been asking and inboxing me, what do you do if there's traffic? What do you do? So, those aren't going to show up as lies if you're going back to the person again and basically saying, hey, this is what's going on. Let's renegotiate. Is 5 minutes going to make a big difference? Maybe not. Most of the time not. But you building credibility by being honest and telling someone, hey, 5 more minutes. When someone does that to me, I know this person is a person of their word. They're definitely a person of their word. And so that just builds trust and integrity and character, and it shows you that you can trust them. And for me, that's huge. They actually did a study on people, those color personalities, or the disc personalities. And there was a study done where if there was a business deal on the line, if you were supposed to meet at 12 o'clock to go over this business deal, they asked all the reds, what time would you be there where you would consider it on time? If they were supposed to be at 12, almost all of them came back and said, I would be there at 11:45. That's just it. Now, if you asked, that was a D personality or a red in the color scheme. If you asked someone on the disc that was an I or a blue, most of them came back and said, oh, I'll probably be there around within a half an hour of the time that I said. That's not going to give you any credibility. And it is a typical blue eye type personality, but that is something that you will have to make a choice in if you're choosing to close deals and or a credibility or relationships with anyone. So if you are a blue or an eye, that is something you're going to have to watch, because scriptures say to be all to all. And we're supposed to be a little bit of the whole disc or all the colors. But if you are a blue and eye, that would be a weakness, and that would be something you really need to focus on to make sure, you know what, I said I would be there at 1. I'm going to be there at 1, no matter if I'm a blue or an eye or whatever I am. So pay attention and just be extra aware of what you're doing when it comes to that. They asked a red across the board if you had a 12 o'clock appointment and the person you were supposed to meet with regarding a huge business deal didn't show up for 10 minutes late, would you close on the deal? And 99% of the reds said no, because they would think this person isn't someone I would want to do business with. And I am 100% a red, and I'm very much a D personality or an A type personality. Like, if I'm sitting there and I'm early and someone doesn't show up till 10, 15 minutes late, I don't think you're serious. And that's not going to, I would probably have left by then and said, I waited for you, unless you've texted me or called and said, hey, this has happened, it's 5 more minutes, then of course I'm going to wait. But if there wasn't any renegotiation on the time, you've lost the business deal. You would have to absolutely really work freaking really hard to get me back. And so I'm teaching you all of this stuff, and I'm explaining this not just because of the health reasons, but for business and or relationship, whether it's ministry or business. We have got to be men and women of our word. Our yes has to be our yes, and our no has to be our no. For all of the chemicals that are released, for all of the immunity issues, for wrinkles, for hair, whatever your situation, for weight, I'm telling you, living true is so important. And I'm really encouraging you guys to take a look at your life and see what it is that you're doing on a daily basis to actually live true. Even another situation that came up with someone's asking about being in a job they didn't want to be in. Hey, Sarah and Carly. If you're doing a half-ass job, yeah, I said half-ass. If you were supposed to do a project and you barely get through and you don't do it, even if it's done in the right time, that is not living true. Because we're supposed to do everything unto the Lord. Excellent. And I don't care if you're a believer or not. I know people who don't believe anything about God, and that's totally fine. We have to have a very good track record of living true, even with our work, with everything that we do. We're supposed to give all to the glory of God. Whether we eat or drink or whatever we do all to the glory of God. So as someone who chooses integrity, mind, body, and soul integrated, and living true, doing what you say is very, very... Hey, Stephen, thank you for giving me permission to say ass. Thank you. So, hey, Sarah, loving the love. Hey, Marty. So I'm just... don't believe me if you don't want to. I choose to help you and to explain to you that when you do your very best and you have a place of excellence, then your body will be in good health. Now, quick tips to living true. Number 1, keep your commitments true. Do not overcommit, period. And what I've learned is you don't have to answer. If someone asks you to go do something, used to in the past, I would answer really, really quick. And next thing you know, I've committed to something because my heart is to help. And a lot of you, I know you personally on here, you guys all have hearts to want to help people. And so it's really, really easy if you have a big heart and you love people to choose to help people is a good thing. And especially if you know the circumstances, we do want to help people. And so it's really, it can be very, very easy to get caught up and just agreeing to helping everybody. And the truth is, you cannot be excellent at everything and keep a balance of your life and your family and your husband or your wife and your children and all these things. So, living true and keeping your commitments, one of the things that I did is, like I said, do not overcommit. And if you have to, don't just answer slowly. Say, you know what, let me think about that. Or let me pray about that. Or like, you know what, give me a couple days and I'll get back to you. Before you got to do anything, you can go muscle test, pray, fast, talk to your husband or your wife. talking to your accountability people. I'm telling you, there are different, you don't have to answer right away. You can even say, hey, you know what? This is something I'd really like to think about. That's something that's really interesting that you would even ask me to do this, and I'm honored that you'd ask me to do this. When do you need me to get an answer back to you? And ask them and put it on them. They may say, oh, you know what? You got a month, you got a week, you got 3 days, you got 5 minutes, whatever. So, but you can just, number one, do not overcommit. And there's some little things that you could do to just slow down with your answers and your commitments, period. That is a huge one. Number two, use ish. I love ish. What's ish? You may be asking, what is ish? Ish for me is, hey, Sharnael, Dr. Sharnael, can you be there at 7? You know what? I'll be there at 7:30-ish. 7:30-ish. Unless you actually 1,000,000% need a time and I know that I can make it, I like to use ish. And I like to say 7:15, because here's what happened. Before I had kids, I could actually be there without an ish. Guess what? Once you have kids, someone always has a poopy diaper, right? Kids get poopy diapers. And guess what? It may not have been in the schedule. I'm just saying. And you're on your way out the door, you're ready to go, and all of a sudden your ish is there, and you didn't bring up your ish, but now you got poopy diaper, and it may be like really bad poopy diaper, and guess what? You're not on time. So yeah, I use ish. I use ish because of poopy diapers, because kids can't find shoes. They put their shoes in the craziest places, and don't even start about shoes. I have so many worn shoes. We got 5 kids, and there's always a missing shoe. So if you're getting in the car to go somewhere or to drop them off before you go somewhere, finding shoes can be an issue. It's a real life situation. So I'm telling you, ish is good. And 7 to 7:15 or 1 to 1:30 or whatever it is, definitely, or maybe someone throws up, or there may be traffic, whatever it is. Especially if you live in the city. I live in Denham, which is outside of Baton Rouge. But once you get to Baton Rouge, I'm telling you, you don't know what it is going to be for traffic. It's just crazy, especially with all the construction. And I'm not sure. I know a lot of you live in big cities, and so ish is really good. Ish is number 2. Use ish or around, or I would like to. I'm choosing to be there as close to 7 as I possibly can, and that way you have a little bit of leeway, and you could be early, and you could be a little bit late, but you were honest, and you told the truth, and you followed through. So number 3, prep time. Prep time is a really good idea. If you have kids especially, get the kids' clothes and shoes ready, even though the dog will probably steal one of them by the next day, and then the dog will have it chewed up and be gone, and you still don't have shoes. I'm just telling you, prep time, iPad and prep time. So if I have to be there at 11, I will, in my mind, logically go, okay, I have to be completely ready at 10:45 or 10:15 or whatever it is in your mind. You know, subtract travel time, obviously, but definitely pull back a little bit extra on just the prep time getting ready. Maybe lay out your clothes the night before you're going to go somewhere, or the kids' clothes, or your clothes, or make lunch the night before or the day before, or have someone help you to get prep time. Whatever it is, number 3, prep time is really, really good. Number 4, this may not work for you, but this really works for me. I have all my watches and clocks like 10 minutes fast, because I like to be 10 minutes early. Now you would think, after years and years of doing this, that I would remember that the clock is really ahead. And sometimes I do. Sometimes I'll look at it and go, oh, you know, it says 6:05, but it's really, you know, whatever, because I know that 10 minutes is there. But when you're in a hurry, when I'm in a hurry and I look at it 6:05, I don't always remember that it's really 6:50. And I will just, or I pretend that it is, just so I could be there early. Because I'd rather be there early and at rest without the stress. Because that's another thing. When you are rushed, that causes stress, and that kicks in other chemicals because your body is choosing to be on time. And it gives a little stress and adrenaline and all kinds of cortisol things that come through the body because you put yourself in a place of stress when you could have had an easy, fun situation. Instead, now when you've overcommitted and you're trying to get places and things have happened, Now you're in a situation where your body chooses to be on time, but because you're seeing that you probably won't make it, then it causes the health can go down, the immunity can go down, and you'll have the same response. So those are things that I just wanted to share with you. Remember, being late is pride. Because basically you're saying that you're more important and your time is more important than everybody else. And that's just not true. So pay attention to time, pay attention to commitments, be where you're supposed to be. And I saw this quote today by Thomas Edison that says, what you are shows up in what you do. What you are, who you are, shows up in what you do. So again, take some of this. If you haven't listened to the first video, go back to part 1, the truth about lying. It's in this Facebook group, or if you're on YouTube, you can scroll back on my YouTube channel. But go take all of this information in and apply it to your life, please. I know this will be helpful for your immunity and for your family and your friends. And, you know, like I said, take accountability. This is really going to help your business and your ministry, because you're going to have more credibility, and people will actually believe you when you say things, because they've known and spent time with you that when you said 7:05, you were really there at 7:05. And if you said 7 and you needed 5 more minutes, you called them, and therefore they were like, wow, that's cool. She came back and said 7:05 and now she's here. And I'm telling you, people register that, and your body registers that. And so definitely pay attention to those things. I love and adore you all so much. So check out my website, swiftfire.org. Swift as in SWIFT, fire.org. Go to my Instagram, my Twitter. I have a ton of great resources and tips. I have a great blog that has lots of tips like this. I have a YouTube channel with tons of videos like this. I love you guys. Hey, Sarah, I love you too. Thank you, Shannon. We love you. Have a great day. Don't forget, we're on day 5 of being grateful. So don't forget to brush your teeth and do 5 grateful things. Think of 3 grateful things that you're grateful for, so you can reprogram your brain, because we're all doing this together. Go back and go to July 1st on the video and check that out if you would like to join us in the challenge of reprogramming your brain. So think of your 3 things when you brush your teeth, 3 things that you're grateful for, reprogram, check it out. Talk to you soon. Wish me well. My wedding is in 2 days. I love you. Bye.